indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we sit, I'm going to ask for a moment of silence as the village has lost yet another wonderful village employee, wonderful person to our community, firefighter and member of Local 2931, Mr. Carl Brandt, who served over 25 years, the longest-running president in unit history, and we want to thank him for his service to the community. Thank you. Resolutions. Number 1, Abstract 779-782. Number 2, NICOM membership. Number 3, AA specialties. Number 4.
What is this in regards to AA specialties? I'm sorry.
So there's an erosion problem on Chestnut Street, across the door. It's a drain line that comes from Chestnut that has been eroding the bank, heading toward a private building that is now encroaching on it. So it's something that needs to be fixed.
So the DPW can't
We don't
fix
really
this?
have the equipment to do that. It needs to be a track machine. It needs to be in there. It's on a steep bank. It's going to have to be accessed from Risley Street. And, we do not have that equipment, no.
Okay,
So-
that's what I was just wondering.
Yeah.
What is the likely outcome if we ignore the problem?
It's probably going to erode back and take out a building. It's not on our property.
Okay, and if it took that building, then the village would be responsible for that.
Correct. Yes. So I told the contractor if they need any material or and if we can assist them in any way, we will work with them to keep costs down.
So is this on private land or is this village?
It's on village land.
Village land.
Yes. It's the
Village
bird
land.
sanctuary, I guess they call it on Forest Place. So that's where it is.
Okay, thank you.
And don't disrupt the birds.
Nope.
My wife would be very upset.
Number 4, budget transfer.
Budget transfer, what is this in regards to?
So the work for hiring St. George for the water main breaks.
Is this for the
It's to
Chestnut
cover that.
project?
No, to cover the water main breaks
Water main breaks.
for hiring St. George. We didn't
So-
have enough in the contractual line.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Number 5, part-time firefighter. And number 6, TI sales water meter reader. Before we go any further, we have a guest tonight that would like to discuss the reservoir project as well as the project for clearing trees that we had spoken about. And I want to welcome Dr. Matthew Pertil with us tonight. Doctor.
Thank you. I'm Matt Pertil, and I am a professor in geology up here in Fredonia. I'm also a resident in Fredonia, and I just wanted to share with you guys some research that I and some of my students have been involved in. I do want to make it clear that I'm not a paid consultant. I'm not here to provide recommendations. I'm just here to provide some of our results. So hopefully the village can make good decisions on land management. What you see up here on the screen is the watershed that feeds into the reservoir. And that's the gray area, that kind of fan-shaped, is the entire watershed. And any water that comes into that area eventually ends up in the reservoir. Any sediment that gets eroded in that area ends up in the reservoir also. So what we wanted to do was take a look at what's called LIDAR data, and that's the gray, which is just a very high resolution topographic information. And I wanted to look for evidence of erosion in a couple different ways. And really to get an understanding of why this area has the erosion problems that it has, we actually have to go pretty far back in time, about 15,000 years ago. And the area that contains the reservoir today was actually an ancient lake, Glacial Lake Shumla. And this filled up the area, very large lake. And what happens with these type of cold weather lakes is that you get the sediments at the bottom tend to be high clay, high silt, and they're very good water holding capacity. I would imagine that that might even be one of the reasons that they originally built the reservoir where they did, because it already had very good water holding capacity. The only problem with those glacial lake sediments is they're known worldwide to be prone for landslides. They tend to be very unstable, especially when excess water is involved. I think that presence of those glacial lake sediments are key to the erosion issues around the reservoir. So here's that LiDAR data, and I kind of zoomed in on the reservoir property specifically, and what you can probably see in certain areas, there's kind of a very rough texture, and those are landslides that I've been able to map. And in fact, I've been able to map 31 areas of landslides, and I'll just kind of toggle back and forth with the pinkish red, and you can kind of get an idea of where these landslides are. The question is, how old are these landslides? Are they active? Are they still eroding at a kind of a slow motion pace? That's what we're trying to look at. And what I'd like to do is kind of zoom in just to the south of the reservoir itself. And this area here is a very large landslide. And if you measure from kind of where the creek is all the way up to the ridge top, it's about 600 feet. So it's a big landslide complex. And the type of landslide that we're dealing with in most of these cases are called rotational slides. And so what happens is the land has a fault area or an area of weakness that usually gets kind of lubricated with water, and then the slide itself kind of just dips down, it rotates down, and then it starts to break in a series of steps. If you look at those steps that you see on the right, those used to all be at the same level. So if you then look to the image to the left, and that LiDAR image, those are rotational slides, very large rotational slides. When we go out there, this is one of those scarps, those kind of breakage area. They're very large scarps. This is probably 12 to 15 feet, and it has some trees growing on it. One of the things with my colleague, Dr. Lanning, that we'd like to do one of these days is take a look at these tree ages, because he's a dendrochronologist, and we'd like to try to date these landslides. Is this something that's happened recent? Is this something that's ancient, or some combination? I would hazard a guess based on the size of the trees that are growing on the scarp, meaning they have to be post landslide, that this is all within the last 100 to 200 years, probably since Euro-American clearance of this area. So one of the things I was curious about is I looked at our neighbor to the south, Casadega watershed, and when I looked at the LiDAR there are no landslides. And this is Bachelor Hill Road, very steep for those that know. Should be landslides, except for we're not seeing any. And I think the key to this is there are not, those glacial lake sediments are not located in the Casadega watershed, but they are located in the Fredonia Reservoir watershed. If you look at what the NRCS has mapped out as where these glacial lake sediments should be located, they're kind of the white area, and I think that they're not mapped correctly. I think they're more expansive. And the reason why I think that is because about 2 summers ago, I went out with a student and we did some bucket augering holes around different places in the reservoir property. And what we found was every time we put a hole where on the LiDAR data it told us there had been landslide activity, we found a very high clay content glacial lacustrine lake sediments, these glacial lake sediments. I know you can't read that graph, but the very last bar on the very far right is the clay content as it goes way up when you get about 2.5 feet down. It was every single hole that was where there were landslides, we had those glacial lake sediments. So I really think that's kind of key to why we have landsliding here. And I have a working model, if you will, just to illustrate. If we go back in a more natural, non-glacial lake sediments, if you have water that rains down, it will infiltrate into the ground. It goes into groundwater, and it does these kind of swooping patterns, and this would all be underground as it slowly makes its way to the reservoir or to the creeks. And what's happening in our case is because we have these high silt, high clay, about 2.5 feet down, those are very impermeable for water to move through. It's basically an obstacle. And so as you have infiltration, that water hits that obstacle and it's coming out these scarps. And this is what we refer to as return flow. And that water is essentially acting, this excess water, instead of going well deep into the ground, is acting as a lubricant. And so where you have spaces that are weakness or areas of weakness, you're getting slides. And then in old landslides, this has the potential to reactivate those old slides. The other thing that we've been doing with some students is some computer modeling. We're trying to kind of create a map of the entire watershed, again, that feeds the reservoir. And this model is to show areas that were modeled as high or low or moderate potential. So the more red little squares are areas that were modeled as having higher potential. And they're definitely along the roads. That's pretty common for this type of modeling. But what you might not be able to see as well, but around Spoden Road especially, there's a lot of little red squares. And then in those areas, those hills surrounding the reservoir itself that I showed landslides, it's not a perfect match, but you can see little clusters of red. And in fact, I'll kind of zoom in here a little bit, and I'll kind of toggle with yellow being landslides. So you can kind of see how they match pretty well. We are working on trying to refine this map a little bit and try to get, because again, it is a model. It's predicting what should be there. So I think we can get a little better with that. And then the last thing that I just wanted to mention at the beginning is what we're trying to do is understand, are these landforms actively eroding, and to what degree? And so going back out to that one really big landslide complex, what we have done is we went out with some students and we put in, using surveying, very precise surveying equipment, we put in a series of erosion pins going down that hill. And the idea is, in maybe about 2 years, is to go back, measure, once again, those erosion pins and see how much they've moved, if at all. And there's actually some calculations that you can do to calculate how much erosion in tons per year, per acre is going on. And this would let us know, are we dealing with a very slow, kind of what we call soil creep, very slow erosion processes, or are these just kind of one and done, if you will. I will also say, just for those that know Route 60 and the history of Route 60, where it kind of comes up, they've always had landslide issues going back to the 60s when they first built it. Those are also glacial lake sediments. And if you go and look there now, you'll notice that it's very hummocky. Those are actively moving right now. So it's the same sediments. So really, water is a big key. Excess water on those surfaces, those flat surfaces, wetlands are starting to develop. And so you have a lot of water. That water essentially acts as a lubricant, if you will. And things like vegetation help suck up the water. Things like vegetation can actually provide an anchor, a cohesive anchor. So anyway, that's where we're at. We're, like I said, kind of in the process of trying to look at this and trying to get a better feeling for exactly how much erosion. But I'm doing it with students, so it's taking time.
Yes.
And that's all I have.
Any questions from the board?
I think it's great that you're taking your students out there and they're getting hands-on experience. And we appreciate the work that you've done and being able to show us. And thank your students as well, please.
Well, we appreciate the opportunity too.
I have one question. The impact on the reservoir over time, you have data on that.
I think Dr. Lanning probably has more data specifically on that.
Yeah, so we're, if you don't mind,
Sure.
actively working on reconstructing the sedimentation history in the Fredonia Reservoir. the point that we're at now, we have cores, we have some data to work with, we have students actively processing samples. But the key is getting the time series, right? How quickly is it happening? What kind of processes are driving it, right? Is it biological activity in the lake, or is it erosion off the watershed? Don't know that yet, but it's working on it. That's kind of where we're at.
Like I said, for these erosion pins, I'm looking at about a 2-year window, but the idea is we can see if it's actively moving, and we can actually, if we want, we can go back to this map and we can basically update the map on the new information as a prediction. But again, I would say we're a good 1.5 years out on that.
Any other questions?
Is this the map you created?
I don't believe so. I'd have to look at it. That looks like just a background map.
That's the logging map.
Yeah.
The logging map?
Yeah.
I know,
Yeah, I did not create that.
okay, I guess I'm just concerned because the logging map we received, it's not very clear.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so if you look at the logging map, this is a map from the GIS website. And at the very bottom, the bottom 2 parcels are where they're looking at the timber. The parcel above that is, they're not going to timber that, that's for access only. So it's just the bottom 2 smaller parcels. And then there's that 104-acre parcel in between until you get to the foot of the, or the head of the reservoir.
I guess I'm just a little concerned about how to match this map up with this map and about the landslide area. I really can't fully understand it.
Well, it looks like we
If
can
it's-
see the bottom of the village's property
Right,
there,
all the way down.
right at the
Yeah.
very bottom of that map.
And that's where they're, so the
And-
bottom is where they're looking at, right?
Right, that's what we're looking at as the 2 timbering areas.
Right. It's
There is a
about-
road access also, a temporary right-of-way.
Right.
Are you following the railroad? Is that, do you have that marked anywhere, the railroad area?
I don't think I do. I think I don't have that marked, but all of these layers could very easily be, as long as I had like the map or
Right.
GIS format,
Right.
this could be matched up very easily. So I didn't have any of like the road layers or any other markings, but it could very easily, if you wanted to see where we have landslides and
Isn't
even where the
that
predicted
red
erosion.
section to the left, is that the railroad right there, perhaps? It looks like it on this map. And it
That's-
looks like those red spots
It might
that
be
seem to
that-
make a line to the left of our property.
Yeah, and it might be, I know that, so the way this
Probably
model
should talk
often works is roads create a lot of erosion, and that's pretty well known. So a lot of those straight lines are roads. But the railroad might actually
I
also.
think
I think
it's
it's
Chautauqua.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Sure.
The railroad itself has been defunct for a very long time.
The left side of that black line?
Yeah, so the black property line is the reservoir, right
Right.
roughly where the railroad is located.
Okay. And I'm just trying to map it, match it up with the access road. So,
The access road is the railroad then.
so that is the railroad? Well,
It might show up even better on that map.
it looks like there's a landslide area there. I'm just trying to understand that.
Yeah, so those are the landslides.
Yeah, there's
You can kind of see it, again, it's kind of a rough
Right.
terrain is a good indicator.
Can you put the pink back on the screen?
Yeah. put the
Thank you.
Back up. Thank you. It's hard to relate it to this map that we have from the logging company.
I mean, from just roughly comparing it, it almost looks like what they've marked for access only has the least amount of landslide activity.
Well, there's two pink areas. Are you talking about in between that area?
Yeah, so there's that real big pink chunk on the bottom that follows what looks like that stream, right, that's inside the border. That looks like the bottom parcel and that top parcel, but then it looks like just above that where there's, I mean, yes, there's a little bit of pink over to the right, but the majority of that has no landslide activity, but that's what they've marked for access only. I mean, obviously along the river, the stream bank, there's some landslide activity, but
And the access point is west. Looks like the landslide activity is to the right.
right.
Yeah,
It's west
yeah,
of
the
that
access
black
point
mark.
looks good.
It's just about on that black mark. That's where the railroad bed is. Pretty close to that.
So who created this map then?
We printed off, Lurch and I printed off from GIS. Because I wanted to see exactly what areas he was looking at, so we had to look at where the SBL numbers were.
Do you guys have a GIS, someone that's just familiar with GIS?
Yes.
Because I can send the landslides as a shape file, and you guys can do whatever you want.
That'd be
I
great.
would like to have a combination
That would be
of
great.
where they
That's the
want to
county
do this
reading for this is GIS.
compared to what you've
I
studied,
can provide
because
that to you guys.
that
and then
would
you
be-
can-
Yeah, if
Yeah.
they could make an overlay.
Yeah, because we know,
I'd love to see that.
we know what areas or what SBL numbers they're looking at logging. And so
but they're
we,
not labeled on that
so I
map.
know, but they're labeled on this map, and if the professor's able to send us the map with GIS on there, then it'll be pretty clear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be good.
Now,
Like to see
I
that.
can't see the road
Yeah,
on that
that
map,
pink.
correct? I mean, where's Darby Switch Road and
It's kind
Glasgow
of
Road?
towards the bottom, so the black line on the right kind of goes along Spoden Road, and then towards the very bottom is where, it might be off that map. Again, I don't
Because
have the roads
it's
marked.
looks like a lot of landslide areas there. Yeah, and that's what I see where the areas are marked
And
for.
again, this is all
is,
within that
neighbor's
glacial
property.
lake Shumla, and so I honestly would expect there to be those glacial lake sediments in that whole area.
That
And you
I,
can really see it there in the shape.
I'm concerned because of that pink area, the landslide area, and how that relates to this map here, where they're going to mark where the logging is. I mean, I just,
Yeah, I think until we get the GIS map with the landslides, it's, it's just guesswork until we see
Right.
that map.
Yeah.
right.
So,
But I still question, why do we have to log? I mean, we've received letters, and I know we do have a speaker tonight that would like to speak about that. I don't know if we could hear from him
well, there's a
after.
walk-on resolution that I'm going to recommend we table until after we get a chance to look at that map.
Okay.
I think that's the
But I
way
would
to go
still
with that.
like to hear
Sure.
from Jonathan Townsend if he would like to speak about erosion and about logging, if that would be possible right now. If Dr. Purtell is finished speaking, okay. Okay, great. Jonathan, would you like to step up and speak? Dr. Jonathan, by the way. Yes.
All right, well, thanks, everybody, for the opportunity to come once more before the village board to discuss this proposal. For those who don't know me, I'm Dr. Jonathan Townsend. I'm an adjacent landowner to the village's reservoir forest, where my wife and I live at 8852 Glasgow, and we own and operate Royal Fir Nursery next door at 8888 Glasgow Road. I also have a background in invasive species management, biological surveys, and land management for conservation purposes. Since 2021, I've made several statements regarding these plans to the board on this topic. Last November, I attended a board meeting and voiced concerns regarding the ecological impacts to this forest that might be associated with tree clearing activities. In that meeting, I noted that timber harvests are not a requirement for a healthy forest. The reservoir forest is indeed already healthy in its state right now, and that removal of trees would open the canopy, allowing invasive species to flourish while also providing an opportunity for erosion to take place. At that time, if you folks remember, the village decided to hold back on approving a timber sale, as a recent geological survey of the property had indicated that the reservoir forest is situated on top of landslide-prone soils and that a timber harvest could trigger fresh landslides. While the potential ecological impacts of this mature, healthy forest are still on my mind, I wanted to come today to discuss the issue of landsides. I'm extremely concerned that the village is once more considering timber harvest at this property. As you all probably aware, the reservoir continues to struggle with issues of sedimentation, and the area highlighted for potential timber removal appears to be situated upland and also upstream from the reservoir, meaning that any impacts or timber harvest at that area, while not currently mapped or modeled as landslide prone, doesn't mean there's a lack of landslide risk. And additionally, my property is poised at the top of the escarpment, so it's not out of the question that you have a mass wasting event in this area that could impact my property and other residents along Glasgow Road. And so I kind of wanted to reiterate a couple things that I mentioned last year, that the village has an opportunity to lead on a couple of these issues. Listen to scientists that are cautioning about issues of landslide risk and ecological impacts to this forest. I urge you to place the reservoir forest under more stringent conservation protection so that it is protected in perpetuity. And as I noted last year, we could work with outside stakeholders to place this forest in a carbon sequestration program that would provide annual revenue on a per acre basis without the need for timber harvest. So if finances are a concern, there's other options out there. And then finally, if the village is still very much interested in a revenue stream associated with a timber harvest, there's multiple programs out there nationally and statewide to create what they call community forests, which would provide planning and funding to actually acquire land that the village would own or own in a cooperative that demonstrate best management practices for sustainable forestry while providing revenue to the village. So there's a couple of different options. I'm not here to tell you not to do timber harvests. I'm here to caution you about timber harvest at this landslide-prone property. And so in conclusion, I just wanted to, as I've mentioned in the past, I'm not here to pick on the village. I'm here to help. I have 20 years of experience. I love Fredonia, I love Pomfret, and I love Chautauqua County, so please just let me know what I can do. I have experience with the programs that I've mentioned and would be happy to offer my services free of charge. I just want to make sure that this forest is protected and that the village prospers and maybe doesn't make poor land use decisions. So.
Doctor, can you do me a favor and give me a call this week?
Yeah.
So we can meet again?
Absolutely.
And I think Mike's got my number, and it's on.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Thank you.
Thank you. Excuse me, Doctor, I have a question. I vaguely remember your presentation last year.
Yep.
I think about a year ago, right?
Almost.
So forestry management. And I think at that time you discussed, I guess there are some misnomers about that, forestry management.
Yeah, there's a forester's perspective of what a forest means when it's considered healthy, and there's an ecologist perspective of that. Neither of them is really right or wrong, and there's like a million shades of gray in between.
Okay.
And so cutting trees doesn't always create a healthy forest. It might promote marketable lumber or certain forest products that a forestry company is intending to sell. So oftentimes when a forester's telling you the forest isn't healthy, it might be referencing marketable lumber in terms of that forest health. A lot of native trees that grow in our forest are not necessarily useful for lumber, so they are not considered in that kind of equation. So when a forester is looking at a forest, he's looking at certain tree species, oaks and cherries and maples, that he can grow or she can grow and grow marketable lumber off of that. An ecologist is looking at the whole system. So there's just a difference in perspective there. And like I said, neither is right or wrong, but for this property, I strongly believe that a timber harvest would be a mistake.
So for example, if you look at the state of California and their forests, and apparently there's been a lack of forestry management. So do you have any comment on that?
California is a very different environment that has fire-adapted species, so sometimes you need fire to come through, and when you suppress fires, you can build up the duff on the forest floor that when you do have a fire, it leads to a more intense kind of burning that is not necessarily just a natural quick flash that comes through. Our forest here, we're also adapted to having regular fires. The indigenous peoples that lived here would kind of promote wildfires every several years or so to promote oak and hickory type forest and things like that. And that would also clear out the understory in a similar way.
So I believe you're saying there's a natural impact or for forestry management that we have in this environment? Or,
Can you rephrase the question?
well, I mean, how do you mean that? What is the best way to manage our forests here?
It depends on the forest. So not all forests are equal. This forest is a lot more mature. Our forests in Western New York are dominated by early successional forest types. So we have plenty of forests that are managed for lumber and plenty of forests that are kind of younger and promote some of the different ecological benefits that a young forest might have. Mature forests like you find at the reservoir remind me quite a bit of the forest you find at the College Lodge. And that is something that is much more limited in terms of the scale and kind of extent in our region. We have a far fewer acreage of mature forest than we do the early successional type. And then you factor in other issues like the topography. So if the village wanted to acquire appropriate forest land that was a little more geologically stable, that would not be a bad idea. Conducting a timber harvest here while you're still currently using it for a public drinking water supply is a bit unusual. There's a lot of other models in New York. For example, the New York City water system, they have thousands of acres protected in the Catskills and Adirondacks that are around their reservoirs that they have aqueducts that go into the city. And they have similar partnerships where you have other nonprofits that own that land and manage that land for water filtration as a public benefit. And so that's kind of how they do it in other parts of the state. And I understand the village needs revenue, and I understand the need to pursue that. And I think you're doing your job to try to bring in money to the village. But don't make a mistake in the process and be kind of enthralled by the idea of timber money coming in when you could be setting yourself up for a lot more impacts in the future, which actually would cost more money. So I think a cost-benefit analysis of this would be in order to see. You can't just drop these trees, sell them, and leave. And I know the forestry company has talked about grading and restoration and removal of access roads, but that's not going to be the end of it. You still need to have people maintaining and monitoring, and particularly if you're using it for drinking water, or even if you care about the fact that the scarps might fall off and erode down. So even if it's not used as a drinking water supply, there's still a risk of landslides and mass wasting, which is not a good thing, whether or not the reservoir is in use.
And isn't it true that these trees contribute to stabilizing the land and helping with the water being filtered
Yes, absolutely.
into, correct?
Yeah,
Thank you.
You can see some of the impacts from the unstable soils in some of these trees. There was a timber harvest there in the early 80s, and some of the trees that regrew are still stunted because they continuously are creeping down or have the continued impact of twisting and moving as the landslide, or not landslides, the landscape twists and moves over time.
So the ones that are there now, we'd be better off not touching them?
Well, in my opinion, yes.
In your opinion?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think ecologically it'd be a
Right.
good thing, and from an erosion control, I think it'd be unwise to take trees off of this
Okay.
property.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor. If you'd give us a call, appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Department reports, code enforcement.
Before, there are a
Yep.
couple walk-on.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, there were a couple walk-on resolutions. The first one I said that, I'm going to make a recommendation that we table it. But the other resolution, it's the first time, I've been gone for a while, it's the first time I've seen this one.
Yes.
So that one is, so when we agreed to the PBA contract, the retirement system gave me the information and said it cost nothing. Well, that wasn't the complete portion that we agreed to, but we apparently had to sign up for that 375I first, and then the chapter 674. So they just sent me today the cost of the chapter 674 of 2003. So that's included on that letter from the retirement.
Because I do remember when we first discussed that, there was going to be no
There was a
cost.
cost, yes, and this actually is what the cost was when we first discussed it. But that's what that resolution is for that law of 2003.
So you're making a motion to table that?
I'm making a motion to table the timber.
Forestry.
Okay.
Timber.
Do we have a second on that?
I'll second that.
We'll
let's
get
do
to
it
that.
in the meeting,
Yeah,
yeah.
we'll
Do
get
it in
to
the
the
meeting,
meeting. But
okay.
I think I'm going to make a motion to table this one too until we get some more information because it's,
All right.
yeah.
I'm good with that.
Code Enforcement Office, Department report.
I have a variance scheduled for tomorrow night, start processes and storage building on Fury Road. And that's it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And you had a good month, so we want to thank you for that.
Yeah, really busy.
DPW.
Yeah, we've been taking advantage of the weather. We got Gardner Street paved last week, turned out well. We got a few streets left to patch. Stock will be in there. Hopefully next week, and then we're going to move into leaf season. And I will be leaving at the end of the month. I've submitted a letter. I just want to thank the village. It's almost 27 years that I've been employed here. It's been a privilege to serve the board and the trustees of this, or the residents of this village. That's it.
Thank you, Scott.
Yes.
Fire department is not here tonight. Police department is not here tonight. Both have asked to be excused. Anything else for the recreation department? I know we have trunk or treat coming up.
I know the trunk or treat is going along as planned, and that's October 24th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Russell Joy Park.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get sealed and for that. I know in the past we've kind of helped out.
Right.
Isn't that
Yes.
October 25th?
October 25th, yeah.
Oh, 27th, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Wastewater treatment plant.
good program.
We rebuilt the shock absorption system for the check valve for the backwash pump. Everything went well with that. We repaired the wasting pump that we had some issues with, and that's running well. And Penn Power was in for their semi-annual inspection for the generator systems. And that's all I have to report.
Thank you.
How is screw pump number 3?
That we are waiting for Molly to get a list of the repair items and cost for that. That's where we're at with that.
Okay, so you're running on 1 and 2?
Yeah, we have 1 and 2, and those two, we can only run 2 pumps at a time during high flows, so we're all set with those 2 pumps.
Okay.
Water treatment plant.
Agent K's been there yesterday and today setting up for the upcoming chlorine project. That should be starting either this week or next week, so it's moving along.
Okay. New business. Before we get into new business, I want to thank our department heads. I have asked them, which I don't think they've had to do this in a very long time, for a 5-year plan on where they plan to have their departments, and we have those in place, which will certainly help us with the budget review that'll be coming up. Anything under budget review?
Just want to set up, I don't know if you guys want to do it at the regular meeting or at the workshop for next week to go over like a quarterly review.
I'd like to do it at the workshop.
Yeah.
This workshop, next week's workshop? Which one do you want to do?
The next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday? Okay.
Which will be, a week.
So I'd like your suggestions, if you can send them to me by email or text, on potential start dates, along with Alyssa, to start working on our budget for next year, and also any other corrections and or deletions to this year's budget. We have some tough decisions to make, and we owe it to the taxpayers to look at this in a timely manner. So please take a look at your calendars. Any other old business?
Well, under new business, we have we discussed Halloween trick-or-treat hours?
No, we have not.
We should probably do that, so
probably
we
set
can
that.
set that. Do you remember what we did last year? until 7 or 8?
I think it was 4 to
7, I believe it was last year, 4 to
I think it was
7.
3 hours,
Yeah,
if I remember right.
yeah, because it starts getting dark.
Yeah.
Right.
I would go with that.
We were on the phone today with the Department of Health, and they let us know that the Ripley Reservoir is almost extinguished. They're getting water trucked in from the county, so they've declared a state of emergency. And there's a water conservation order, and she said that Westfield is not too far away from the same situation. So I think it would behoove us to work with the Department of Health and issue a conservation order now. Why wait until it gets worse? And the conservation order just don't use excess water. It's not, it's not an imminent thing, but I think we should get ahead of it and issue that as soon as possible.
Thank you for bringing that up. I agree with you. I was going to ask Louis how the reservoir was doing.
It's low, but it's not.
It's low, but we're not.
I mean, we're still a couple feet above the intake, so.
How far?
Couple feet above the intake.
Okay. So
And there's
conservation.
there's a handout that we were provided, and it kind of goes over what a water conservation actually means and what we would ask the residents to do. So we could use this as a,
So we'll do this tonight under new business?
I don't think that has to be a resolution, I think.
Okay, then I think we need to
You
put,
could just make that announcement.
Yeah.
Correct.
we need to put basically the second page on our website, so people understand what it is that
And then if
goes
we,
into that.
just let the Department of Health know, so they will put it out over however they get their information out as well.
Yeah.
Louis, are both the upper and lower gates open?
No, yeah, can't access the bar.
Because of the control mechanism.
Correct.
So if the water level were to drop below the lowest level of the upper gate, we'd have a problem.
We would, yes.
But with conservation, that should help. What do you think, Louis?
Should.
Okay. Hopefully no more water breaks either. Yeah.
Yeah. Those are pretty devastating.
Is there anything under old business?
The only thing I have is the county contacted us, and they want to meet to talk about the PPD contract. So Allison Vento has suggested October 30th, along with some of their folk. So we're going to meet with them then and see what they've got to say.
Okay.
And that's through the town of Pomfret?
It's the PPD.
PPD?
Yeah.
I thought that was being run through the county. PPD.
That's why the county wants to meet with us, because we had created a new contract and sent it to them.
Correct.
And after the county reviewed it, they had some questions, so they wanted to meet with us.
So this is the county, not the town of Pomfret?
That's correct.
Okay, and they want to meet with us here?
Yes.
What was that date?
We're meeting October 30th. That's a Friday? Maybe? Thursday?
Thursday.
Thank you.
At what time is that meeting?
It's 9, I believe.
9 a.m., yeah. I can resend the email to everyone so that you have it. You're more welcome to attend.
I'd like to come.
Okay.
Of course, if we don't have a quorum.
Anything else, folks?
That's the only thing I have.
Okay. Before we go into our next meeting, I see we have a lot of folks here for various reasons, and of course, we will have our public discussion on topics that are germane to tonight's schedule. And with that, As per the advice of our attorneys this afternoon, Webster Zani, there will be no discussions or public discussion about the lawsuit and/or reservoir at tonight's meeting. If you would like to take that up, take it up with our attorneys at Webster Zani. It is only fair to you, and it is fair to the people who not only submitted the new lawsuit, but to us as a board, because in public public speaking, we cannot respond, which I'm sure you would like to do. So there will be no discussion tonight on the Save Our Reservoir or the reservoir tonight. I do know that there are some discussions about the logging that would like to come up, and we'll be talking about that, but there will be no discussion about Save the Reservoir. Once again, our attorneys are Webster, Zani, and Buffalo, if you'd like to speak to them. With that, we close the workshop?
Yeah. Yep.
Just call the meeting to order.
Okay. Pardon?
You just have to call the meeting
I
to
know.
order.
Okay, we're going to call tonight's meeting to order, the regular meeting of the Village of Fredonia Board of Trustees, 911 Church Street in Fredonia, New York. I'm Mayor Mike Ferguson. I call this meeting to order on Tuesday at 6 p.m. Roll call trustees are Trustee Esperson. Here. Trustee Twitchell.
Here.
Trustee Syracuse.
Here.
Trustee Brockler. Here. Trustee Wandell. Here. I'm going to ask that we stand for Pledge of Allegiance, and then I would like a moment of silence following. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I will ask that you stand for a moment of silence for yet another wonderful employee and community leader, Fredonia fireman Carl Brandt, who served as the longest-running president in union history, the local union 2931, over 25-plus years of firefighter in our community. We ask that you please rest for a moment of silence. Thank you. Approval of minutes.
Whereas members of this board have read the official minutes of the Board of Trustees regular meeting of September 29, 2025, and be resolved that the board hereby approves the minutes as entered into the official minutes, and be it further resolved that the reading of the minutes be dispensed with.
Second.
Trustee Esperson.
Aye.
Trustee Brockler.
Aye.
Trustee Syracuse.
Aye.
Trustee Wandell.
Aye.
Trustee Twitchell.
Aye.
Thank you. Public portion of the meeting is for public comment. Any member of the public wishing to speak, once recognized, will stand at the microphone, state their name and address. Speakers will be allowed 3 minutes of speaking for themselves, 5 minutes of speaking on behalf of a legitimate group. We ask to refrain from remarks that are in poor taste, slanderous, or not germane to any action taken or contemplated by the board this evening. I will remind you that if you are here to speak on either the reservoir proposal and/or the Save Our Reservoir organization, that you will not be speaking tonight. And again, you can contact me directly or contact our attorneys at Webster Zani. Thank you. Dr. Townsend, have you already spoke, or would you like to speak again?
I have nothing to say. Thank you.
Okay. Mike Lee.
Good evening. My name is Mike Lee. I live at 348 Chestnut Street in the Village of Fredonia, and I also sit on the Pomfret Board as a councilman. I'm in today, and I'll keep it fairly short for you all. I had some folks reach out to me who also had some questions and concerns about the proposal for logging in the area around the reservoir. Most of the information was already addressed earlier, but I just wanted to thank the trustees for tabling this for the time being. I think it's important that we give some time to allow for some of these studies that are looking at the potential for erosion in the area and the ecological impact that logging could have on the reservoir, especially while we still are in the process of transitioning water sources. We don't know at this point what the impact could or might be on any of that drinking water, and so while that is still something that we are dependent on, just tabling that until we're able to get a more conclusive outcome or complete that transition, I think would be appropriate. I've reached out to Mayor Ferguson and offered to assist with that process in any way that I can if it helps bring some folks to the table to discuss some alternative options for funding for or a revenue source for the village that would be comparable or greater than what we would be looking at for logging. I'd just like to have the chance to be able to explore some of those options. On that note as well, I just wanted to offer my thanks again to the village board for the work that you have been doing, broadly speaking, on the water issue. I know that that is not an easy issue to tackle, but I have heard a lot of public positive feedback for the steps that you have taken recently, and I wanted to take a moment to thank the board. That is all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Andrew, is it water? Is that on SRO?
What's that?
Is that on SOR?
No, I'll take it out.
Okay.
You know, I do think that, you know, you go on the news and you say, I'll come out and speak against the reservoir or against the lawsuit, and then you say we can't speak about it. I just think that's kind of dirty pool, but this is...
Well, we didn't have a lawsuit the other day, so we do now.
Okay.
Okay, good.
So earlier this, when you were on the news, that reported... Yeah. Anyway, look, I'm not really going to... I'll try to pull out any comments I have about the reservoir. I'd really just like to speak about, you know, one of your supporters took the time to write a response to my most recent letter to the Observer, and in that letter called me childish and hateful. And the sad thing is the writer and a lot of you missed the whole point of my commentary, which was to demand that the village and county government get to work on making the currently inoperable water interconnects between Fredonia, Dunkirk, and the North County Water District functional so they can actually be used in water emergencies. And tonight you're talking about drought conditions, and you're talking about water conservancy and the possibility that we're going to run out of water in our reservoir. And we've got these interconnects that could provide us with water if they were in operation, but they're not in operation. They haven't been in operation for like 5 years. So again, my comment in the paper was about getting those interconnects working so we can use them in water emergencies. And whether the county wants to declare boil water order an emergency or not, well, it sounds like we're on the brink of an emergency if this drought continues. So I would think that people would want to get together and say, yes, let's get these interconnects working so that if the reservoir drops below the intake level, we can get water from somewhere where we already have connections, right? But, you know, instead of seeing my words as a plea to unite behind common cause of finding alternative water sources for our village, some of you and the writer, you simply use my letter as an opportunity to call me names. And, you know, I hope the letter writer's watching, because I haven't seen her at any meetings, because I'd like to state for the record, I don't hate any of you. All right? I don't hate the letter. I don't hate any of you. None of this is personal. I don't go on Facebook or other social media and call names. I don't have a Facebook account. I've not made personal attacks on anyone involved in this water issue, okay? I wonder if the letter writer or any of you could say the same about me. And while I can see why some people might be put off by my relentless and sometimes aggressive approach to find out facts and to hold public officials accountable for their words and actions and inactions, the letter writer and others seem more concerned by people possibly hurting the mayor and the board's feelings rather than being concerned that village government act openly and honestly and in the best interest of Fredonians, and that you're held accountable for your actions and your decisions. And at the last meeting I attended, I admittedly interrupted Trustee Wandell's water report. And yeah, I suppose I was out of order. But after a previous boil water order, Trustee Wandell said he was going to do an investigation of the standard operating procedures of the water treatment plant.
Correct.
Yeah. I would love to hear more about your investigation. You came to a meeting after that statement. You gave some cursory information, and then we didn't hear any more.
And I spoke with the water treatment plant supervisor today and got more information.
Okay. Are you going to share that tonight?
Absolutely. It's
Okay.
in my committee report if you'll stay.
Wonderful. Because that's really what I was looking for.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
I'm going to take a little more time. Because we had to discuss about me taking out some things.
We're
so.
good. That was 2 minutes.
Well, that was 2 minutes, okay.
3 minutes, that was fine.
You know, and also like some feedback on the comments that County Health Department official Natalie Whiteman made about the purchase of the chlorination system and the structural integrity of the water treatment plant. So, you know, in your investigation, maybe in your report, you could talk about that, and maybe you could talk about some of the comments.
Okay, time's up, sir.
Well, I'd just like to conclude by saying,
You concluded.
I
Thank
don't
you very
hate
much.
any of you. I just wish you would listen, and I wish you'd tell the full truth.
Yep, thank you. Mark Twitchell?
Nothing but the truth.
Yeah, in regards to the logging project, I really can't add anything to what the experts presented to us tonight, and I'm very grateful to them, and I thank this board for inviting them to come and speak. Now, there are some other people that might be interested in speaking with us, and those are representatives from the logging company. We remember that when the Forecon project was under discussion, a representative from that logging company came to answer questions. Now, maybe the new Bradford organization, headquartered in Liechtenstein, might not find it necessary to fly across the Atlantic, but maybe they can send somebody up from Pennsylvania to answer our questions about how are you guys really experts at finding your way into this and out of this logging area, which is above the elevation of the stream and the reservoir and is surrounded by landslide areas, and is your access road not going to be part of the situation? So I'd really appreciate hearing that. And also, I think it's important to know that there is a group. It's called Don't Log the Fredonia Reservoir. Now, it's a public Facebook group. There are 157 members. So this represents an organization that doesn't actually consist of academics and PhDs. These are people who have nonetheless listened to academics and PhDs and have become quite well versed in the risks of this logging project. So I would hope that as the next necessary time goes by, that we can absorb some of the information that we heard tonight and respect the wishes of many other people who are quite concerned about this. Thank you.
Trustee Esperson, could you do us a favor and see if they would be willing to come up and address us like a meeting similar to what we had tonight?
Yeah, I would like to do that after we get the report from the professor.
Okay.
Because, I mean, for me personally, if it's readily apparent that where they're intending the logging, there have been a lot of landslides, then I wouldn't approve of it. But
Okay.
I would, you know, if it's something we want to do after that presentation, I would certainly invite them.
Is that okay? Good deal. Thank you. Jim, are you speaking on reservoir?
But I would like to address your, this afternoon, I heard yourself on the radio, Mayor, and I find...
And it's about the law, it's about this, so no, we're not
That's-
talking about this. Thank you.
But you asked the community...
Jim, it's about the lawsuit, and we're not
But you
talking
present,
about it.
this
Thank
is
you.
not about, this is, but you asked the community, this afternoon, this is not about what's on the, this is not what's on the lawsuit. This is about what you stated today. And the utter gall that you had to ask the community to come out and speak against the other residents of this community who have the legal right to question this governing body.
Right.
To speak out against them. And saying that the cost that was borne on the last lawsuit that this board lost in Supreme Court was the blame of the residents who questioned them.
No. Well, there's been. You heard what you wanted to hear. You cost this village $32,885.36 with the last lawsuit. So now you put another one.
No,
that came from these residents, the residents of the village. And you want to talk about excessive expenditure?
Sir,
That's it.
that happened because of the lack of procedural legal action that this board took and did not take properly. That
Okay, you're talking about lawsuit, Jim. We end this public session at this point.
That's a past lawsuit. That's not a current lawsuit.
Well, I'm
That's a
controlling the
past
meeting. Thank you.
lawsuit. It is a past fact, and it was due to this, the lack of legal procedures that this board
Jim, I'm
took,
asking
and
you to
that's
stop.
why they lost.
I'm
And so it
asking
was
you to
not,
stop.
it was not the question of the public. It was
I'm asking
this
you to
board's
stop,
fault. It was, that's where the cost came, was borne by
I'm
you.
ask one more time, Jim, for you to stop
costs were
before it
borne
goes
by you.
further. Thank you.
If you had proceeded properly, you'd already be on your way with the...
Gentlemen, I'm asking you both to leave the room.
I'm happy.
As usual. Thank you.
But don't blame your screw up.
And you as well. Thank you very much.
Not ours.
That 32,000
Yes, sir.
deposit taxpayers was on your and all 4 years, because you never include Michelle's.
Yeah,
So
okay.
it's all your 4 and yours act of not doing
Good deal.
and managing this community properly.
Okay, thank you very much.
And you're in it.
And if you only lived in the community, it would be worth
You're
it.
from
Sir,
West Seneca, why didn't you run for that, dude?
I've lived here 38 years.
I don't care,
Want my
I think it's
address?
62.
Congratulations.
What, play games? Dude,
Oh, you
you're gonna
guys do that
lose.
quite
You're gonna
well.
lose. You lose again because you
No,
cost
I'm very good at playing games. Thank you.
$833.85.
Suddenly Ireland
What do you
seems
want to
to-
call?
I want to go back.
Shame on y'all, you have any conscience, but you
Okay.
don't.
Have a
Yes,
nice
sir.
night.
What, we can run it?
Yes, sir. Can I
Why
help
don't
you?
you learn to shut your mouth and tell the truth?
I wasn't even talking to
You
you.
are now, too. Oh, you can't defend yourself, but we have to just.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Sure.
We got more coming.
Mitch,
Well, I believe it.
Mitch Cummings, 53 Houghton, and I came here tonight to listen about the logging. And I have a question: is the black line the property owned by the Fredonia?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I was just thinking about logging, and if that's mature woods, if that would lessen the value of that property in case there would be a chance to divest of that property entirely, possibly to the state of New York for a park or whatever, at some future point. And I look at things as being a penny saved and a penny earned. And if the state would be interested in that and possibly taking over the decommissioning of the dam and those things, that might save the village quite a bit of dough. And would logging possibly be a situation where that would lessen the possibility of that to happen?
Good point.
Thank you, sir. Doctor?
I have a response to this question. So in terms of carbon sequestration
Oh,
programs.
and I was thinking about that when I was
Which
walking.
trees store more carbon.
Yes.
So it definitely have a negative impact on.
Thank you. Yes, you may. I know you got here late. Go right ahead.
Hi, my name is Patrick Prowell-Sexton. I live at 70 Spring Street. I think this is a great opportunity to connect with scientists who are really experts in this field. Maybe we can apply this to the acreage that we discovered we were paying taxes on by Casadega that are protected wetlands, and we can learn about this and apply it to that. Maybe make more income from that as well, in case we haven't made that connection already. Thank you.
Thank you.
We don't pay tax on that land.
Okay, so we
Yeah.
don't know that.
No.
Yeah, that was my mistake. Yeah.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else that wanted to speak tonight? If not, thank you. We'll close the public portion of the meeting. Correspondence, I have that letter here. We have a letter to the Mayor and Village Board of Trustees, Village of Fredonia, Fredonia, New York. Dear Mayor and members of the Village Board, after much thought and consideration, I am retiring from the Village of Fredonia Department of Public Works, effective October 24th, 2025. It has been an honor to serve this community for the past 27 years, and for the last 4 as Superintendent of Public Works. I am grateful for the support I've received from the Mayor, Village Board, and other department heads in the community throughout my career. It has truly been rewarding to contribute to the growth and success of Fredonia. Thank you again for the opportunity to serve this great community. Fredonia will always hold a special place in my heart. With sincere appreciation and respect, Scott Marsh, Superintendent of Public Works, Village of Fredonia.
Correspondence dated October 8th, 2025 was received from the Department of Public Works Supervisor Scott Marsh, retiring from his position effective October 24th, 2025.
Be it resolved that the retirement of Scott Marsh as Department of Public Works Supervisor with the Village of Fredonia is effective October 24th, 2025.
Regretfully, I'll second that.
Trustee Twitchell?
Aye.
Trustee Wendell?
I say aye, but also regretfully.
Trustee Syracuse?
Aye.
Trustee Rockler?
Again, regretfully, aye.
Trustee Esperson?
If we all said no, would he have to stay?
Alas, no.
Aye.
Okay. And we want to thank him for all the time, for getting up in the middle of the night, like many have done, for answering the call when part of the problem or part of the solution with DPW is you're on 24 hours a day, or you need to be on 24 hours a day, not necessarily on presence, but available. When people lose their water main breaks or something happens or a tree falls or You need your driveway, everybody wants things done immediately, and Scott's done a great job with his team to make sure that those things have done. He's made our community a better place, so I want to thank him for his correspondence, and we too are sad to see him go. Trustee reports, Trustee Brockler.
Nothing at this time.
Trustee Esperson.
The only thing I have was we got some good news today from Melissa. The EFC funding was approved for the chlorination system for the amount equal to the amount of work, and I guess if we all pray hard enough for the next year, maybe the loan will turn into a forgiven loan. So, but at the way it's set up is you have a year of no interest to pay it back. So good news that we were awarded that. We had a meeting today with Homeland Security, Department of Health, and Labella regarding the grant that we got from the Homeland Security, and the decision was made that as long as the lawsuit is going on, we don't know what direction we're going to go, so we don't want to move forward any further than we are now. Working with the Department of Homeland Security, they agreed that was probably the wise thing to do. They're contacting their attorneys. The Department of Health has contacted their attorneys. We've contacted our attorneys, and they'll reconvene after they've had a chance to speak to their legal counsel. And that's all I've got.
One quick question, Trustee, is what was the amount for EFC awarded?
$493,300.
Yeah. Okay. So
it
that
covers the amount of H&K and Labella.
Okay. The combination total.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Excellent. That's good news.
Well, and I also want to this is for the chlorinator replacement, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. That we are still paying on those 4 chlorinators that were put in originally, and now have to pay another $300-some-odd thousand.
I think we owe our Alyssa thank you for completing that application as well, pushing that through.
Thank you for getting it in on time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Trustee Syracuse.
Nothing to report tonight.
Trustee Twitchell.
Yes, I did want to read a letter that we received from Chautauqua Watershed Conservancy to the members of the Fredonia Village Board and Mayor Ferguson. This has been brought to your attention previously, but bears repeating for the greater good. The steeply sloping woodlands surrounding the Fredonia Reservoir play a vital role in protecting both water quality, habitat quality, and regional climate resilience. In addition, these lands provide untapped outdoor recreation potential. All these environmental benefits translate directly into economic benefits to the village, the region, and its community now and well into the future. Harvesting timber in this area may provide a short-term financial windfall, but it will be a very small given the current lumber prices. However, logging the slopes surrounding the reservoir and the impact of the equipment needed to do so will greatly increase the risk of soil erosion, sedimentation, and nutrient runoff, threats that can quickly compromise the integrity of nearby water sources. When trees cover is removed, rainfall strikes bare soil directly, dislodging sediments that wash down into the reservoirs. This not only causes negative water quality impacts and increased water treatment costs, but the anticipated surface level runoff will also carry phosphorus and other nutrients into the reservoir that can trigger harmful algae blooms, degrading aquatic ecosystems and water quality. The marginal monetary gain of a timber sale would erase all regional environmental benefits and the potential for the recreation activity that this area provides for decades to come. Beyond erosion control, intact forest cover regulates local hydrology by slowing runoff, promoting groundwater recharge, and maintaining more stable stream flows during droughts or heavy rains. The roots of mature tree anchors the soil and act as natural filters, capturing pollutants before they reach the water. Removing them or cutting them down, the trees that provide such critical ecosystem functions will disrupt these natural defenses and undermine the long-term stability of the watershed. The loss of forest canopy also weakens regional climate resilience. Trees moderate temperature extremes, store carbon, and sustain the moisture balance that influences local weather and growing conditions. Logging steep slopes can lead to hotter, drier conditions that reduce forest regeneration potential, encourage growth of non-native invasive species, destroy wildlife habitat, and further stress regional ecosystems. Protecting the woodlots around the Fredonia Reservoir is therefore not just an ecological concern, it is an investment in public health, climate stability, and the long-term security of clean water resources for the entire region. Responsible stewardship demands keeping these slopes forested to safeguard both the land and the communities it supports. Sincerely, Dr. Tuan Leenders, Director of Conservation, Chautauqua Watershed Conservancy.
Thank you. There's no treasurer's report tonight.
Trustee Wandel hasn't given his report
Oh, I'm
yet.
sorry, Trustee Wendell. My fault.
Thank you, Mayor. 3 quick reports. Last Wednesday, October 8th, I met with the mayor and the treasurer to discuss and to update Chautauqua County Department of Health Water Treatment Plant Reservoir, Dam, and Dam Action Plan. We collectively updated said plan and submitted to the county by the deadline later that day. And I'd like to thank the treasurer for getting that completed and on time. Later that day, I actually met with the supervisor at the water treatment plant, Louis Fred, along with Oliver Sugarman from Labella, and also a representative, the construction manager of H&K Contracting, to discuss technical and procedural detail to initiate liquid chlorination construction. Anticipated completion of project is early February of 2026. Last point, Tuesday, October 14th, the mayor was to sign, and I believe this did happen, Mayor, to sign the notice to proceed for that project?
Yes, it did.
Okay, great. So that, also on that note, the town construction permit was issued for the project, and the water intake repairs is a work in progress. I was updated by the supervisor that structure is being fabricated off-site, and then Louis is coordinating an install with the divers probably within the next 2 to 3 weeks. And last point, the standard operating procedures that one of our residents brought to our attention is a work in progress still. Our supervisor is working on that, and I am also working along with him. That's it.
I have a question, 2 questions real quick. The divers are going in, is this going to require another boil water order?
No, this is going into the reservoir, so
it won't disrupt it?
will have no impact.
And secondly, do you have any update, you may not, on the acid tank situation? Because I know...
I do not. I will have to contact David on the supervisor on that, if you'd like.
I believe they have been inspected.
They passed inspection a few months ago, I believe.
Okay. All right.
So I don't think there's any critical issue happening
We're a
right
little
now.
concerned about it, for sure.
Right.
Well,
And
thank
as you know, we're applying for a grant to cover the engineering study, which we hope to have for next year to review the overall operation and status of the wastewater treatment plant.
Thank you. Thank you, all the trustees, for your reports. No treasury report tonight. We do have an additional report.
Yep. Village Fredonia Justice Court Report for the month of September 2025. Vehicle and traffic tickets, 82. Criminal cases, 70. Village ordinances, 1. Civil cases, 4. ABC laws, 0. New York State laws, 0. Total fines and surcharges, $4,298. Parking ticket fines, $947, for a total of $5,245. That's it.
Okay. Resolutions.
Be it resolved that the regular and overtime payrolls of the various village departments and bills approved by the Finance Committee and set forth in abstracts 779 through 782 are hereby approved and directed, paid, and available in the village clerk's office, 911 Church Street, Fredonia, New York.
Second.
Trustee Esperson?
Aye.
Trustee Brockler?
Aye.
Trustee Syracuse?
Aye.
Trustee Wandell?
Aye.
Trustee Twitchell?
Aye.
Thank you.
Whereas the Village of Fredonia has maintained a membership with New York Conference of Mayors, NICOM, and whereas the NICOM annual dues is due in the amount of $4,283, therefore be it resolved, the membership for NICOM is hereby approved in the amount of $4,283 for the annual membership.
Second.
Trustee Twitchell?
Aye.
Trustee Wendell?
Aye.
Trustee Syracuse?
Aye.
Trustee Brockler?
Aye.
Trustee Esperson?
Aye.
Thank you.
Whereas the Village of Fredonia requires bank stabilization in Risley Creek behind Chestnut Street, whereas AA Specialties, Forestville, New York, has offered a quote in the amount of $3,000 to perform the stabilization services, and whereas the services are necessary for the village's purpose, therefore be it resolved, the board authorizes AA Specialties, Inc. to perform the mobilization work necessary in Risley Creek in the amount of $3,000.
Second.
Before we vote on this, I know someone's watching tonight who wrote to me and asked what the purpose was, found the dramatic changes that were done to the stabilization in the creek. That was done, particularly what was done along Water Street, will hopefully save us from the massive floods that we've had in the past and actually increase water flow. Some stones were removed. I know that they were quite concerned with the number of foliage that was taken out. That foliage will be replaced as we get into the early spring season. The growing season's done now. So we thank Trustee Twitchell, and we thank the folks from Lake Erie Management and Soil and Conservation for their work. But there is a purpose for the reason that was done, and that's to prevent things that we've had happen in the past, like major flooding, and also to increase fish population in the community. So. Do we have a second? We did have a second?
We did.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Trustee Esperson?
Aye.
Trustee Brockler?
Aye.
Trustee Syracuse?
Aye.
Trustee Wendell?
Aye.
Trustee Twitchell?
Aye.
Thank you.
Be it resolved that pursuant to Section 5520 of Village Law, the following budget transfers are hereby approved. $5,000 from F8340.1 distribution personnel to F8330.44 distribution contractual.
Second.
Trustee Esperson?
Aye.
Trustee Brockler?
Aye.
Trustee Syracuse?
Aye.
Trustee Wendell?
Aye.
Trustee Twitchell?
Aye.
Thank you.
This next one, I'm sorry, I did have a question on it. I know we're trying to watch our spending here in the village, and I'm just not sure if we do have that money right now for a part-time fireman.
So he won't be paid anything unless he works, and because he already worked for us, his old gear is still there, so
Okay.
he won't cost
Thank
us
you.
anything.
This
Thank
also
you for
is,
explaining that.
it's a way for us to lower overtime because we'll pay him straight time at $28 instead of
I see.
somebody who's full-time, paying them
Okay.
overtime at
Thank you.
time and a half or double time.
Good
Thank
question.
you.
Is he an EMT or paramedic?
He's a paramedic.
Okay, awesome.
So he can
That'll help.
step right into
That
any,
sounds good then.
I like that.
He just resigned not too long ago. for
Right.
So
Yeah.
he's,
Okay. Be it resolved that Daniel Berg of Hamburg, New York, 14075 is hereby appointed as part-time firefighter with the Village of Fredonia Fire Department, effective immediately at a rate of $28 per hour.
Second.
Trustee Brockler?
Aye.
Trustee Syracuse?
aye.
Trustee Wendell?
Aye.
Trustee Twitchell?
Aye.
Trustee Esperson?
Aye.
Thank you.
Whereas the Village of Fredonia requires the upgrading of the Neptune meter reading equipment and software for the meter reader, as our equipment has become obsolete, and whereas TI Sales, Sudbury, Mass. has supplied a quote for a Neptune R900 belt clip, transceiver V3 including battery, Neptune MRX 920 mobile data collector, and handheld tablet computer, as well as the software and training, for a total of $30,000, $30,208.32. And whereas the Neptune meter reading machine and software are necessary for the village's needs, therefore, be it resolved, the village board hereby authorizes the purchase of the Neptune equipment as well as the necessary software for $30,208.32.
Second.
Before we go into a vote, question as mayor for the budget, if this is an expenditure that we can hold off until next year, if that is possible, since we're already halfway through this budget. It is in the budget. Pardon?
We're not even a third of the way through the budget.
No.
Yeah, I mean,
You know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
it's a chunk. It's, there's no
Pretty decent chunk of
denying it.
money,
It's a
but
chunk.
I would refer, I don't want to drag, I don't want to put her on the spot, but if Melissa feels that we're coming there and it's necessary,
This, it kind of is necessary, only, we voted on it last year, but it was the wrong price, it was the wrong quote.
Okay.
Because the software and equipment that we have is obsolete, we're not able to get the parts that we need for it anymore, so if it breaks down anymore, we're not gonna be able to read
can't
our
guess it,
water
right?
meters.
It's important then.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have a
Mission
vote.
critical.
Trustee Esperson?
Aye.
Trustee Brockler?
Aye.
Trustee Syracuse?
Aye.
Trustee Wendell?
Aye.
Trustee Twitchell?
Aye.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen,
Hold on. Do we have to table our walk-ons or just ignore them?
We can just ignore them if
Yeah,
we
we
want.
might as well.
yeah, okay. I'm going to ask for a motion to end this so we can go into executive session to discuss some personnel matters and some
I'll make
additional
that
matters.
motion to go into executive session for personnel matters regarding which departments?
Actually, it's, well, DPW is one of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Second.
Okay, Trustee
you.
Esperson?
Aye.
Trustee Brockler?
Aye.
Trustee Syracuse?
Aye.
Trustee Wendell?
Aye.
Trustee Twitchell?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen, for your attendance.